Okay, so now we're in part 2. All right, so I'll keep going. So we're just talking about Peter, and then when he was walking on water towards Jesus, and he kept his eyes on Jesus, he too was walking on water like Jesus was. It's when Peter looked down at the water. He looked at the world. He looked at the powerfulness. He looked at the scariness. He started sinking. He lost his focus. It's when we get our eyes off Jesus that we've lost our focus. It doesn't mean we're lost. Now, if you are truly not believing on him at all, you are lost. And you can be found like that. Place your trust in him. And sometimes people say to me, well, I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't know if I'm perfect yet. Well, guess what? Not only are you not perfect yet, you're not going to be. But if you will place your trust in him and make a decision to turn from everything that is sin to him, everything that is not following Christ, I'm not saying do it. I'm saying make the decision that you want to. He will do that in you. And when you say, well, I just don't know if I can believe, just make the decision that you want to believe. And he says that even faith is a free gift. He has to give it to you. We're even too weak to have the faith, and he knows that. He made us weak. He made us fragile. He wants us to be dependent on him because that's the safest place we can be, is dependent, not independent, not self-sufficient. Not, hey, self-investigating. Not, hey, focusing on self. Or, like the Hindu religion, elevating outside of self. No. It's not even about yourself. Yes, you need to acknowledge yourself. You don't need to, like, be in nirvana or whatever. I think is the part of the Hindu faith that, you don't even have a self anymore. God made you with a self. It's called your soul. He doesn't want you to get away from that. That's how he made you. He wants you that way. But he wants you to give up control to him. Why? Because that means you trust him. And that's what Eve blew in the Garden of Eden, was trust. She started listening to someone else who said, you know what, you can know what God knows. He's hiding stuff from you. He doesn't want you to know. He doesn't want you to what? He doesn't want you to know. He wants you to not know. He doesn't want you to be independent. He wants you to be dependent. And as long as they were like that, they had a wonderful relationship with God and on this earth, and so did all of earth. And I don't just mean the animals. I mean all of nature that God created. I bet tornadoes were everywhere, and they were beautiful and powerful and incredible, but they weren't destructive. Wind is beautiful until it turns destructive. The sea is gorgeous until you go down in it, and the creatures who've been changed by sin to being violent and aggressive and would kill. The very nature of the water itself, the fact that your lungs can no longer take the water in and still live, all of it got messed up. I bet there's beautiful volcanoes spewing back in the very beginning, but they didn't burn you. The qualities that we see in nature that make us go, wow, isn't that incredible, were there. But their destructiveness and the death that would come from that destructiveness wasn't there. Same thing with the animals and same thing with man. But when you try to be independent and you try to say, I don't need God, and you say, I can know this myself, he says, okay, now you know. How's it working for you? Now you know, because you took of the tree they took from was knowledge of good and evil. And people say, oh, they found out about evil then. If they just never found out, they found out, period. Not just of evil, but of good. It's the fact that they began to know. Before that, they didn't even know they were naked. And there was probably nothing wrong with being naked. They became aware of themselves and their sins, what happened. And God, before that, had said, hey, I just want you to know and trust me. Just trust me. You don't got to know anything else. And they had a wonderful time. Has you ever had somebody just kind of take care of the details for you, and it's just like you can relax and not worry about anything? Can you imagine going back to that at a perfection level state of the original earth? Well, he says he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. It's going to be that way. It's going to be wonderful. You need to come to Jesus. It's going to be awesome. But if you've been hurt and you felt like you fell away or you got lost from him, then just get your focus back on him. You lost focus is what you did. Get your focus back on him. Do like Peter did. When he got his eyes off Jesus and he saw the ocean and he started sinking, he immediately turned back and cried out to Jesus, and Jesus immediately saved him. Snatched him up. He didn't toy around with it. He didn't play games with us like that. He wanted him to see that he was absolutely dependent on keeping his eyes on Jesus to stay afloat. And that's still true for us today. There's going to be evil in this world. Until Christ comes back and fixes it all, it's going to be evil. And we're going to live in it. I would say don't waste any more time on this, y'all. I know that's got to be God's perfect timing, but I just really encourage you. You never know if you're not waking up tomorrow. I don't know if I'm not, and this would be my last video ever. I don't know. But you can believe again. And that's what I told my YouTube friend. You can believe again. It's okay. Let's believe again. Trust him again. It's not a matter of, I'm going to give God another chance. I'm going to get in plan B. There's other plans. There's not plan A and plan B. I went through a divorce. There's not plan A and now God's giving me plan B. I hate when preachers say that. There's only one plan. It's God's plan. And I can join him anytime. If I commit a sin and then I ask him to forgive me, I can join him at any time. I don't have to wait till a certain time to get better. I'm never going to be better. The only reason I'm even righteous at all is because of the blood of Christ over me. That's what makes me better. It makes me perfect. It makes me sin-free. Does that mean you're still going to sin in your life? Absolutely. But that your heart has turned and you don't want to anymore, he will work with you throughout the rest of your life, however long that is and whatever he wants to do with you. He will keep working with you, and he'll work with the people in your life that you pray for. Yes, your prayers are important. I hate when people say, stop praying and take action for people, Christians. Well, that's a terrible message. First of all, prayer is an intimacy between you and God, and that's more important than anything going on in this earth. I don't care how bad it is. What's important is you and God. So go to him first. And there's power in prayer. That's not something to ignore or to act lightly about. It really upsets me that a pastor would say that. Then, if God so moves on you, when you're talking with him, he puts something on your heart to take action, then take action. Whatever action he gives you. If it's, it doesn't take rocket science to say, hey, if there's a tragedy and they're running out of blood and they put an APB out over the airwaves that we've run out of blood at the hospital and God moves on your heart, go to the hospital. Then go. You don't even have to stop and pray. He's moving you. Go. If you see something and there's a relief fund going on trying to help somebody who's been through a house fire or tornadoes or stuff like that, take action, go. That's okay. But don't ever just write off prayer. I mean, your relationship with God's important. Let me tell you something else. God can use anything he wants to, and that includes evil. Sometimes I think the reason that he allows evil, he can actually use it. And there's a writing right here that I may read from and go into part 3. But it speaks it more eloquently than I do, and I have no problem reading this. This is part of, as long as I give credit, this is part of the Holman Christian Standard Bible, I think, HCSB. That's the translation on this one. See it right there? Translation's usually abbreviated, guys. Then you can look up what does that read. Who wrote it, how did it come about. This is the study help is the Apologetics Study Help Bible. Now, Apologetics is the study of the proofs of God. And this is for students. So people are like, Beth, that's for children. I'm like, well, it's for teenagers, and it's a good one, and I'm still learning, and I'm would teach teenagers. But anyway, this particular article that's put in with the text, and the text meaning God's divine word, was put in by an author, and they do this ever so often throughout the Bible, just, to address apologetics. It's kind of the debate between whether God or not's real, and then all the issues that may surround Christianity. And J, meaning J period. My computer.
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure what you're after.
That's my computer. That's, hey, Dragon. Hey, Dragon. How you doing?
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure what you're after.
Okay, so I need to disable this. I don't even understand how it works. One day I'll learn to edit and read all these books and things that I should. But anyway, this is called Why Does God Allow Evil by J. Steve Lee. And I may just read all of it, so it may go into part 3. I may skip some. It's just a page long section inside the Bible right here, and it talks about why God allows evil. Now, I will tell you, sometimes these inserts, I will read them, and I totally, like, I read one the other day. I'm like, that is just not true. And I think it was the one that talks about, what about people who've never heard of God, and it was apologetics argument about the people who've never heard from God and what will happen to them. And they totally miss some very important scriptures, and I'm like, that's simply not true. So be careful, because I could have backed up my apologetic argument with scriptures that God talks to us about how he's revealed himself, even for someone who's never heard of him, whether it's in an American city or a tribe in the bush out in an undeveloped nation. There are scriptures where God absolutely, it says God is silent on this. I'm like, no, he's not. I can tell you scriptures where he talks about the fact that he's even made himself known to us through nature, so man is without excuse. Or another scripture that says, however, if you are not going to be held accountable for what you don't know. So it's like, that guy wrote all wrong. So you do have to be careful of these. The other part of this part, that's just an insert. This is the divine word of God inspired into man, and God made sure that it got there right. And that's why it's important to know where your translations came from and how they came about. So this is a translation I do trust. There's some that I don't, and I'll tell you. But anyway, it says, not going to go into all that. Okay, because this is kind of like a professor level, kind of a liberal idea about atheists or whoever that argue against God's existence or against God's goodness. And in this case, it's because God can't be good and still allow evil. So, actually, I'm going to be going into part 3 right now, because I feel like this still all goes together. It's when we kind of get down because bad things have happened or there's evil in the world, and we need to come back to God. So this will be part 3 of this same one, and it'll be about why God may allow evil, and that he does allow evil. So I'm going to kind of go